All right, hello everybody. My name is Jackson Queen. I am the broadcast editor for the Devil's Tale. Recently, Superintendent Steve Wood sent out a survey to students, staff, and parents regarding the district's plans to go back to a 5-day schedule, or the all-in plan as it's called. The survey asked recipients to rate how comfortable they felt going back to school 5 days with the implementation of the 3-foot social distance rule and the elimination of the 14-day quarantine rule. Today, I am joined here with Mr. Wood, our superintendent, to discuss the all-in plan and his thoughts on community feedback. So, Mr. Wood, as of right now, do you plan on implementing the all-in schedule?
I'm still thinking about it, Jackson. So kind of first of all, thanks a lot for having me on the call. So because this is a hard decision. It really is. And I know it affects our students. It affects our teachers, staffs, everyone. So I kind of start everything by kind of reminding folks how awesome of a year I think Talmadge City Schools has had given horrible circumstances, and we are, as you know, we're talking about all in for grades 6 through 12. Can't forget that our kindergarten, 1st through 5th grade have been all in all year, which has been, awesome for those kids and those families for a lot of reasons. So, So what we're left with here is a very important decision about the rest of the year. And I got to tell you, the survey results were a big eye opener for me. So I was surprised by some of them, and so thankful that for the participation of our students, teachers, and parents for taking the time to fill out those surveys.
So looking at the surveys, they were kind of all over the place, depending on who you asked. So do you believe that the surveys that you actually got back, do you think it was a good representation of the student, staff, and parents that actually took the survey?
I think so. I hope so. I mean, the numbers are right. We had 671 parents. I think a little over 600 students that completed the survey, and about 90 of our staff members that completed the survey. So I think it's a good representation. Now, we're not going to make public what people put on them, but we wanted to make sure it wasn't the same person filling out, the survey multiple times. But there's individual email addresses for each one of the surveys we received. So as far as the integrity of the results, feel really good about it. And then in addition to the surveys, I got a lot of emails from folks kind of on both sides of the issue. So if we kind of frame the issue, some people, and I get it, some people really like the hybrid for the rest of the year. And I hear you. Feeling the comfort in the classroom. They've become very comfortable in the classroom with the size of the number of students in class, the rhythm of the day, as well as the rhythm of the week in terms of being here one day and off the next. Our teachers have worked hard all year kind of getting into that groove. So, proud of them. I know it certainly was a challenge for them to start the school year and try to figure out how exactly they wanted to do that. I heard from some of your fellow students, Jackson, that are volunteering on their days off, and they certainly don't want to risk, track season or baseball season or softball season. So being in the hybrid mode lowers the risk of having to be in quarantine. So I hear that loud and clear. Then on the other side of this issue that symmetrical is there's folks that are struggling, and kids that are not engaged, every day, students that are not engaged, and parents that are, ask this. My son or daughter has been going through this all year. Really need them back in school to finish the year strong. So, that's the, two sides of this important issue I'm hearing. So kind of I'm trying to balance. I don't think there'll be a balance. I wish I could do a perfect balance and have a perfect solution, but trying to figure out a way to help the kids that are struggling and meet their needs. But at the same time, I don't want to kind of break the success for some of our students that are thriving. So that's the difficult situation we're in, and what I'm doing to try to answer that question is I met with the counselors yesterday, Ms. Praiser, Ms. Granito, and Ms. Lane, and kind of get their perspectives. Talk to the middle school counselors, talking to teachers. Also spending a lot of time talking to other districts as well. So as you know, Nordonia and Hudson just went back in recently. There's been pros and cons that they've had. So talking to the superintendents there. Then, Revere and Copley have been all in most of the year. And then likewise, our direct neighbors, the Falls, Woodridge, Kent, Stowe are all in a comparable hybrid model that we are. So they're kind of wrestling with this decision as well. So that's the things I'm factoring in, Jackson. So that's kind of where I am right now.
Yeah. No, it is a very tough decision to make, and we are going to look at both sides if it is implemented or if it's not implemented. I have a few questions for each.
All right.
So if the all-in will be implemented, this is a quote from senior Claudia Palmer regarding going back to school all 5 days. She says, "I do not think we should be going back to school every day because we won't be able to be as socially distant as we are on the hybrid schedule. It seems like there are still lots of people at school catching the virus, and even though teachers will have the vaccine, students will not. I just don't think it's worth the risk of infecting kids and their families. I think we should stick with the hybrid schedule because it has been pretty effective at limiting the number of people at school who will get the virus." How do you respond to that?
I agree with her. I mean, I think it has been effective. The spacing that we've done this school year has shown low numbers in Talmadge. I would also say, again, talking to those other districts that are just 3 foot apart, and the CDC likewise is recommending 3 feet apart. It's working in schools. They're not seeing the spread in the Revere or the Hudson or the Nordonia, in the classroom that, either. So, so I'm kind of hearing both sides, Jackson. I think too, though, but I'm also sensitive, and I mentioned to you before the call started here, my daughter is a student at one of those schools, and there's just fundamentally, our students have gotten used to being 6 feet apart. So I could, till I'm blue in my face, tell you that you're okay being 3 feet apart, but I also understand Claudia's concern that there's true anxiety and worry, and I don't want students to be anxious in the classroom. So I hear it, and that's another reason this is a difficult decision.
Yeah. So one problem that a lot of students and parents have with the all-in plan is that the students will not have to quarantine if they're exposed to the virus, but they won't be able to play sports for 2 weeks.
Right.
So what do you have to say to people that have that concern?
Well, it's interesting. We weren't even going to put that in the survey. That's an issue that I learned from those other districts. So I learned about that issue from Nordonia and Hudson. When I talked to those superintendents, they said, "Steve, going back all in had its own challenges, and having all the students in the classrooms, had issues. But the biggest issue that affected those districts was the need to shut down a basketball program or shut down some of the sports because students were quarantined as a result of a contact in a classroom that ended up affecting sports." So that's the big reason that question was even on the survey. And I'm very it's very important. It was very important to me that our families, students, and teachers knew about that issue as part of that survey. So it was great to get that feedback from the survey, because people need to know that's a huge risk of going all back in.
Now, one of the main problems with going back all 5 days is that although teachers have been vaccinated, students still have not, and there will be a entire school population to deal with. So, what is one way that you plan on actually trying to solve this problem?
Again, we would stay with the same protocols we have now, and we'd use the CDC programs if we go back all in, using the 3 feet everywhere. Again, what we're hearing, if you watch the governor and other districts go into the 3 feet with masking, the sanitization protocols is working in schools and in classrooms. So that's what we would do to prevent it here too.
All right. Now, is there anything else that you would like to share with the people viewing this interview in regards with the all-in plan?
I think we hit on most of it. I think the big recognition that folks need to have, or I want folks to understand, and why it's even in play, right? Why it's even in play. Let's make sure we're clear on that. Is that some students benefit from being at school every day, and we have an obligation to. It's our primary obligation is to help kids succeed in the classroom. And certainly next year, we plan on being all in from day one at the beginning of next school year. As we think that's what's best for kids academically. I believe that the more time our students have with our teachers, the better. The more structure they have, the better. And so that's why we're even having this conversation. Is there's tremendous merit to being 5 day a week, 5 day a week school. The rigor associated with that, and the structure that comes with that. The challenge, of course, and why I haven't made up my mind, is I do understand and respect the anxiety many of our students are feeling. I respect and understand the success many of our students are having. They've gotten used to the hybrid mode. So, as I wrestle with, the best way to finish out this year and serve all of our kids. For me, every kid, every day counts, and making sure that we're doing everything we can to serve every kid every day is what we need to do as a district. So finding the right way to do that to finish out the school year is what I'm working to do.
All right. Now, we're going to switch to if the all-in plan is not implemented, if we stick with the hybrid schedule for the rest of the year. So here's a quote from sophomore Ava Ryder. I feel that going back to school the way that it used to be with everyone definitely comes with risks, but I feel that it would be a good option for us. I feel that I learn a lot better when I'm in a classroom with my teacher, and by doing the hybrid schedule, I only get 2 to 3 days in the classroom per week. I also feel that I learn better when I'm surrounded by my friends, and it's hard to see that the other half of my friends when I only go to school with the half of the school. I feel that going back to school with everyone will cause a sense of relief and normalcy that we have lost since COVID-19 started. How do you respond to that?
Well, it's kind of like the other side of the same thing. So, again, I agree with her. It's the that is exactly the issue that we've got framed. Is I think there are definite students that would benefit from being here every day, and how do we balance that out with students that wouldn't. So, yeah, I don't have anything beyond that to say for her.
All right. So many seniors are worried that they would be missing out on the rest of their senior year. Do you think that there would be a possibility of going back all 5 days before the school year is out?
What do you mean? Like just, you mean I'm still, we're still in the midst of, we may do it for the whole fourth quarter. Jackson, is that what you mean? Or
Yeah.
yeah. Oh yeah, there's definitely a chance of that, I would say. Yeah.
Okay. Now, one of the main problems with sticking with the hybrid schedule is students' mental health, and that's become a big thing with teachers and students and parents that staying kids staying away from their friends, it's affecting them mentally. How would you try to help solve this problem?
Yeah, well, I I'll do whatever. I mean, I would say there's two sides of that too, right? Because there's the mental health of students has been it's certainly it's critical. We need to do everything we can to help our kids, and that's why I was so pleased. I met with the counselors yesterday to talk about how are our kids doing, how are our students doing, and what they would tell you is that students have gotten accustomed to the hybrid mode, and that's been actually, so there's you hear mental health, I think, has been you'll hear that term used to justify going all in, and I think you likewise can use that term to justify staying hybrid, right?
Yeah.
Because some kids, the anxiety associated with going all in, there's concerns for their emotional and mental well-being as well, right? So I think almost that's a neutral issue, frankly, for both sides. I mean, some kids, it's just the pandemic has been very difficult on students and adults and parents alike, right? So we're going to continue. That's why we're so blessed here in Talmadge with the counselors that we have, and even our students. I just have so much respect for all of our students in terms of being aware of your friends, how your friends are doing, and then our counselors reaching out. And our counselors have been very proactive at both the middle school and the high school, working with students and helping them through this difficult time. So we're going to continue that good work. But I'm taking into consideration the mental health on both sides of this, because I think both sides of the decision has an effect either way. We may help some kids by going all in, but likewise we may, we may cause some kids to struggle if we go all in. So.
Now, is there anything else that you would like to share with the people viewing this interview?
No, again, but Jackson, before we started, I was curious. What are your thoughts? What do you think we should do?
Well, personally, I think eventually we do need to go back all 5 days, but I don't think that it is safe to do until students are vaccinated.
Okay. Yeah. So.
Yeah.
And then in the yeah, it'd be great if we get our students vaccinated. I agree with you. That would be awesome.
Yeah.
No, I appreciate it. I definitely, it's a hard issue. I would tell you. So I've been superintendent 3 weeks now, right? This is kind of a big decision to hit me with right away, but that's something that, I'm embracing. We have an awesome community here in Talmadge. And again, I'm so proud of how everyone has handled this so far, really, right from so much anxiety, even at the beginning of the year, even with the hybrid model, right? We were all scared, and there was a lot of questions about what things were going to be like. And our K-5 families are so thankful for having those students to school every day and keeping them on track. And our 612 um, students and staff have been amazing trying to adapt to this new schedule and learning every other day and teachers having to really change the way they deliver content. So just so proud of that. And so the thing I'm wrestling with, and it won't be an easy decision, and there'll be some people that will be very upset with me after I make it, Jackson, and some people that may be very happy with me after I make the decision. Is really trying to find a path that helps us finish this difficult year as strong as we possibly can, and that's what I'm committed to doing. Okay.
No, it's the first 3 weeks of your superintendent career. It's a very tough decision to make. So I wish you good luck.
Thank you.
You make the best decision that you can. You are thinking very thoroughly through this and talking with everyone. I love that so much. Just thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Jackson. I appreciate you having me on today. I really and if you think of anything else or anybody else has any other ideas, please encourage them to just send me an email. I appreciate it. Okay.
All right. So thank you all so much for watching this interview. And thank you, Mr. Steve Wood, for joining us today. I'm Jackson Queen. I'm signing off.